people are chirping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we got the first fight of the year this weekend with Chikadze fighting against Calvin Kattar.
Yep.
But other guys are chirping. And one guy that's constantly in the media now for people wanting to fight him is Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
You know, Nate Diaz writes, I'll fight DP in January. Don't be scared, you little expletive. This time it's now or never. Dustin goes, I'll fight you in a month. Diaz goes, you're full of expletive. Dustin goes, I'm serious, bro. Right? And then they're doing the dance.
Right.
Without actually
the double dutch.
Coming
the double
together,
dutch a little
right?
bit. Yeah.
They're doing the double dutch, right? They're dancing at the middle school dance at space, right? They're not dancing like touching each other.
Hey, like
They're
my mama used to always tell me, you need enough space for the spirit of Jesus in between y'all.
Hey, that's what I'm saying, right? So they're being cautious, right?
Right.
They're being cautious. Dustin seems to want it more than Nate. Nate goes and said, Dustin, you suck. You got to remember, those guys were scheduled to fight before.
Yeah.
In Madison Square Garden. That's why I ended up fighting, because somebody got hurt and pulled out. They were supposed to fight each other. Now, is this a matchup that excites you? And also, do you think that this one comes to fruition?
You know what? I don't really know if it comes to fruition. I think I've known enough about Dana White that if this is a fight the people continue to want, I believe that this fight happens. I think this is a big fight or a good fight for both men. Obviously, Dustin will be moving up to take this fight, and Nate Diaz has now become like that guy. But my question is, DC, and this is totally off the subject, has Dustin Poirier now decided that championships are no longer in his future? Right? That fighting for the belt is no longer my thing. That for me, it's about these catch matchups, these money matchups, the opportunities for the popularity. Does he fall into the Diaz camp? Does he fall into where Masvidal is right now? You know, because he tasted the money of what it's like to fight a Conor McGregor twice. When Conor McGregor is Conor McGregor, when he's the biggest draw in sports. And because of that, right, because of the drama that surrounds that, Dustin Poirier's name has now been thrown into that hat as one of the stars of the UFC. There is no fighter we saw more of in 2021 than Dustin Poirier, right? Whether he wins that fight against Charles Oliveira or not, he was going to have gained popularity throughout the year, and I think this is an example of it. I think this is a good fight to make. I believe Dana White is about the business of making good fights, but it's on if both men want it. And I do believe the more the banter goes on publicly and the more the people feed into it, that brings these two dudes closer to fighting, and I would be absolutely thrilled to see it.
You know, Ryan, you talk about Dustin kind of going into that category of that fun fighter, right? Going up in weight, down in weight. In his last 5 fights, he's 3-2. Granted, the 2 losses are in title fights.
Yep.
But who gets to be 3-2 and still have that type of name recognition and also that draw around themselves that makes people want to watch him? You know who? Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, guys like that. Those fun guys that the result ultimately doesn't even matter as much anymore.
Right.
I don't know if Dustin has flipped the switch in that regard. I don't know if he feels like, okay, my time at the top is over.
Is he an exciting enough fighter, DC, to do that, right? Because you have to be exciting to do that. Okay.
Yeah, he's absolutely exciting. Here's the problem. He's really good also.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's going to just have these fun fights and lose all the time. He's only going to lose to the elite of the elite.
Yeah.
He only lost to Khabib and he lost to Charles Oliveira.
Most
people are losing to Khabib and Charles Oliveira. So it's not like he's fallen off in terms of his skill. But when you lose in those championship fights, when you lose in 2 undisputed title fights, it's hard to be viewed as a true contender right now. You know, I spoke to DP a couple weeks ago after the fight, and I asked him if he watched it, RC. He said no. We talked a little bit, and he was talking about being 32 and not exactly knowing what's next. He wants the big fights. And he was almost discouraged about not being that championship guy. But I also told Dustin, I said, find comfort in knowing that at 32 years old, you have done so much good work that you could think retirement.
Yeah.
You could think just money fights. You can do all those things that so many people go a lifetime without ever being able to do. I go, so instead of laying rooted in the negative, instead of living in the I got submitted again, that sucks, live in the fact that, dude, you've done such good work that at 32 years old, you've made enough money, you've made built enough of a profile to where only the big fights come your way.
Yeah.
I go, you should be proud of yourself, Dustin Poirier. And I think he's there.
Absolutely. Dustin has done a ton. And in the sport where it's hard to get to a point where you can kind of start to call some of your own shots. Obviously, Conor McGregor got to that point, one, by excelling early on in his career, becoming a 2-division champ, but also being an exciting fighter, being an entertaining fighter, being someone that could build up fights, becoming a guy who could make certain amounts of money for the UFC. So for Dustin Poirier to be in this position is huge. And I think a fight against Diaz, as you mentioned, DC, being 3-2, something that will be exciting for the people, but a 100% very winnable fight for Dustin Poirier is what, to me, is smart.
Nate Diaz about to come get you. Nate Diaz will come get you. Nate Diaz will come get you.
Well, I tell you what, if Nate Diaz is walking out of the arena and he at me, I for sure ain't dropping my drink. How about that? I promise you that. I ain't trying to fight, but I ain't dropping my drink. You ain't gonna have me looking silly on camera.
Did you see that guy? Like,
yeah,
what was up with the guy?
I ain't doing that.
Yo, this dude talking all that trash, and then look what happens. Look at what happens when you put yourself in those situations, right?
DC, I ain't doing that. But if this fight happens, right, we're thinking about 155. Obviously, you mentioned Charles Oliveira. What happens to guys like Conor?
Right, Nate? When they fight at 170, because Nate hasn't been.
That's what I'm saying. Right. Yeah, they will fight at 170, but at least for the time being, while Dustin Poirier is preparing for that, or while he's fighting, the 155 weight class still goes on.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.